Love can be beautiful, but sometimes it's the most dangerous game you'll ever play. What happens when the person you trusted the most becomes the source of your deepest fear? I never thought I'd find out, until one night, just past midnight, when he showed up outside my window, silent and staring. In his hand, a kitchen knife caught the weak streetlight, and his eyes were wild, desperate, unhinged. I froze, heart racing, caught between terror and disbelief. And the truly terrifying question: what would you do when someone refuses to let go? Tonight, we're diving into true horror stories about creepy exes that actually happened. So stick close and keep watching till the end to find out what happened before it was too late. But before we start, make sure to subscribe or follow so you never miss any new chilling releases. If you're enjoying the content, hit like, drop a comment, and share this video. Let's see if we can hit 500 likes before the next episode and find out how many of you truly love this kind of content. But there's a little twist. One of the stories you're about to hear might not be real. It could be completely made up, or maybe they're all true. Watch till the end. Try to guess which one, and leave your guess in the comments. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. And now, let's dive into the darkness together. This happened about 2 years ago, but I still get shivers thinking about it. I ended things with my ex, Mike, someone I was with for over 3 years. And looking back, that breakup was hands down the most terrifying thing I've ever been through. Mike and I met when I was 22. At first, it was pretty normal. Cute dates, late night talks, all that classic early relationship stuff. He was funny, charismatic, and charming. But after about a year, the cracks started showing. He had this dark moodiness that would come and go like a storm. Sometimes he was perfectly fine. Other times he was angry about nothing. At first, I chalked it up to stress, work, family stuff, whatever. But then it escalated. The yelling started. Not just yelling, but screaming. Doors slamming. Things thrown against walls. I'm not exaggerating when I say it got so intense, I started locking myself in the bathroom just to calm down. I didn't leave right away because I thought maybe I could help him, or that things would improve. But after 3 years of cycling between good and bad, I realized I had to end it, for my own sanity and safety. Breaking up with Mike was a nightmare. He was devastated, but in a way that felt dangerous. At first, he blew up my phone with texts, apologizing, begging, crying. Then the messages got darker, with hints about self-harm and even threats. When I finally blocked him on every platform and changed my number, I thought I was safe, but I wasn't. Mike started showing up outside my apartment. Sometimes he'd stand silently under my window, just watching. Sometimes he'd leave notes slipped under my door, rambling apologies mixed with angry accusations. It felt like I was living in a horror movie, with my own stalker waiting just outside. I moved. I got a new place several blocks away, changed my phone, told only a few close friends. I wanted a fresh start, a safe place. For a few months, it worked. But the fear was always there, lurking. And then one night, the night that really scared me, everything got real. I was home alone, probably around midnight. I just settled in for bed after a long day at work. The apartment was silent except for the soft buzz of the heater. I was scrolling on my phone when I heard a sharp tapping sound from the front window. At first, I told myself it was just the wind or maybe a branch. But then the tapping came again. Tap, 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 slow and deliberate. My heart stopped. I didn't want to look, but I had to. I slowly drew back the curtain and looked out. There he was, Mike, standing right under the street lamp outside, his face pale and shadowed, eyes wide and dark with a wild look I'd never seen before. But the thing that made my stomach twist into knots wasn't just his stare. It was the large kitchen knife in his hand, gleaming menacingly in the weak light. He wasn't yelling, not calling my name or demanding anything. He just stood there, motionless, knife dangling at his side, staring up at the window. I stumbled back, locked the door silently, and called 911. I could barely speak. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. The operator told me to stay calm, wait for officers. But when they arrived minutes later, Mike was gone, like a ghost. They took a report but said there was little they could do without a direct threat or him physically breaking in. I felt powerless. That night, I barely slept. Every sound felt like Mike coming back. Over the next few weeks, my life turned into a constant state of anxiety. I installed extra locks, bought a security camera, and refused to answer the door or phone after dark. My phone blew up with messages from blocked numbers. Some pleading, some angry, some downright creepy. One message simply said, "You can't hide forever." One night, maybe 3 weeks after the knife incident, I was home alone again, curled up on the couch, trying to distract myself with TV. Then I heard footsteps on my porch. I froze. My heart pounded so loud I thought it would burst. I grabbed the kitchen knife from the counter, the same kind Mike had. I gripped it tight, knuckles white, and sat in the dark. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Then the tapping, tap, 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 on the glass of the door. I didn't dare look. For what felt like forever, I just sat there, holding my breath. Eventually, the footsteps retreated, and the tapping stopped. I called the police again. They came quickly, searched around, but there was no sign of Mike. After that, I barely left my apartment. I slept with the lights on and jumped at every noise. Eventually, I moved again, even farther, hoping a new place would finally bring peace. It did. But sometimes late at night when the house is quiet, I still see the wild look in Mike's eyes, the knife's gleam under the street lamp, and hear the tapping on my door. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the real horror isn't supernatural. It's the people who refuse to let go, who blur the line between love and terror. A few years ago, late spring, maybe early summer, I found myself with the house to myself for the first time in a long time. My parents had gone on a 2-week cruise out of the country. I didn't tag along, had to work. I was 24 at the time, grinding through 60-hour weeks at this delivery logistics job that barely paid enough for how exhausted I constantly felt. So when my schedule finally blessed me with a whole day off, I figured I'd earned it. Hit up a couple buddies, grabbed a cheap case of beer, and had a laid-back night. Just old stories, trash playlists, and beers on the back porch until everyone dipped around 11 p.m. No drama, no cops. Just a buzz I wasn't quite prepared for. I locked up, stumbled upstairs, and collapsed onto my bed fully clothed. Blacked out instantly. Next thing I remember, the doorbell. It was dark, pitch black outside. I fumbled for my phone and saw it was just after 4 a.m. At first, I thought I'd dreamed it, but then, ding dong. Again, definitely real. Still groggy and disoriented, I shuffled down the hallway calling out, "Hang on," without even thinking. Should have checked the peephole, I know. But I wasn't exactly alert. Some irrational part of me thought maybe one of my buddies forgot something or needed help. So I opened the door. And there she was. Lana. Some context. Lana. Not her real name. And I had dated for nearly 4 years. It ended badly. Toxic doesn't even begin to describe it. Lying. Cheating. Gaslighting. The breakup dragged out over months. On and off like a bad radio signal. Took me 2 full years to finally block her on everything and fully cut ties. So seeing her on my doorstep, in the dead of night, hit like a jump scare. All I could manage was, hey? Then the obvious. "Why are you here, Lana?" She just looked at me and said, "I wanted to see you." "Can we talk?" I told her. You know it's literally 4 in the morning, right? Expecting her to snap out of whatever this was. She said something that instantly chilled me. "Yeah, I know. I was heading to campus and figured I'd stop by. I know you're home alone." That last part. I know you're home alone. How the hell would she know that? I hadn't posted anything. My parents didn't even tell anyone they were going. I even blocked her from seeing their socials. just in case. I asked her directly, "How do you know I'm alone?" She smiled, small, weird, and tired looking. I just knew. That should have been the point. I closed the door. But instead, I hesitated. Stupid, I know. That tiny nostalgic thread tugged at me and I let her in. She greeted my dogs like nothing was off, sat on the couch like she'd never left. We made small talk, just surface stuff, work, health, movies. But before long, she started slipping into the old pattern, talking about how she missed me, how she'd changed, how things could be different this time. I shut that down quick, told her I wasn't interested in reliving the past. She cried. And yeah, I got emotional too. When you spend years with someone, the feelings don't just disappear. One thing led to another. I'm not proud of it, but we ended up in my room. Almost instantly afterward, the regret kicked in. I told her I had work in a few hours and she needed to leave. That's when the tone shifted. She didn't want to go. She begged to stay, said she felt safe here, but I kept insisting. Finally, she snapped, accused me of using her, screamed all kinds of things, some true, some warped, some totally made up. I lost my temper too and said some things I shouldn't have. Eventually, she stormed out. I figured that was it. Not proud of how I handled it, but I thought it was over. I was wrong. Maybe 20 minutes later, I just crawled back into bed, brain on fire, when I heard knocking. Not the doorbell this time. Knocking, loud, fast, urgent. That panic knock that lights your nerves on fire. I already knew. I didn't even need to look. I got out of bed, heart pounding, and opened the door. Lana again. She didn't wait this time, just barged right past me. No shoes, breathing hard. She looked off, pale and flushed at the same time, her eyes wild, unhinged. That was the first moment I got scared. Then my dog, Bramble, who loved her, started growling, low and serious. Bramble's a goofball 99% of the time. But now he stood between us, ears pinned back, teeth slightly bared. I tried to play it calm. "Lana, what are you doing? Can you just go, please?" She didn't answer, just stared at me like I'd betrayed her. Then she said it, quiet, but sharp. "Why do you always do this to me?" Her voice shook, like she was on the verge of breaking. That's when I noticed her right hand, stuffed deep in the pocket of her hoodie. The shape was off, like she was clutching something, not bulky, not obvious, but something. My stomach turned. I started wondering, what if it's a knife? That's when my other dog, Ash, who sleeps through everything, started barking, snarling, pacing in front of me like she was trying to shield me from Lana. I backed up a step. "Lana," I said, "I'm sorry, okay? But this was a mistake. You need to go." And she snapped. She screamed, full-throated rage. She accused me of things I never did. Spit flying. Her hand never left her pocket. The whole time, Ash barked non-stop, and I couldn't even hear myself think. Then suddenly, silence. She froze, still, staring at me like she wanted to carve something into my soul. Her face flushed, lips twitching, hand clenched tight in that hoodie pocket. I finally said, "You need to leave right now, or I'm calling the police." For a second, she didn't move. Then she leaned in, almost whispering, "You're going to regret this." And then, she left. Just walked out. No slamming, no more shouting. Just gone. I locked every window and door in the house, then sat upstairs at the window like some horror movie idiot until the sun came up, just watching the street. She never came back. No calls, no messages, nothing. To this day, I still don't know what was in her pocket. A phone? Pepper spray? A knife? Or maybe nothing. But man, I don't want to find out. Back in 2012, I went through a brutal breakup with my boyfriend. We'd been together for about a year and a half. Let's call him K. At first, it was all fireworks. He was the life of every party, Loud, reckless, magnetic. The kind of person who turns heads and draws everyone in. That chaos used to excite me. I was in my early 20s and thought his energy meant he was living life. But eventually, the charm wore off. The drinking, the all-nighters, the fights about money or showing up hungover to work. It got old fast. I started wanting peace. He didn't, so I made the hard decision to end things. I tried to be respectful about it. I didn't want it to be messy or bitter. I told him I still cared, but that we just weren't moving in the same direction. At first, he didn't argue. He seemed calm, sad, sure, but accepting. We agreed to a one-time meetup to exchange our stuff. No long texts, no post-breakup chaos. I thought we could close the book cleanly. We set the handoff for after work. I packed all his things in a bag, double-checked everything, and waited at my apartment. He said he'd be there by 7, but 7 turned into 7:45. I texted him. No answer. I called. No answer. Finally, around 8, he picked up. He sounded off. Not slurring or yelling, just flat, cold. He said he got caught up but would be there by 8:15. I asked him not to be too late. I had work in the morning. He finally buzzed in around 8:55. The moment I opened the door, I smelled it. Alcohol. Strong. My gut dropped. I had specifically asked him to come sober. I didn't want this turning into an emotional scene. He was holding a shopping bag with what looked like my stuff, so I thought maybe we could still keep it brief. He asked if he could come inside. I said no, that I just wanted to swap and say goodbye. He frowned, said something like, "Really? You're just cold like that now?" I kept my tone calm but firm. I told him if he couldn't respect boundaries, he wasn't getting his things. He didn't like that. At all. When I moved to close the door, he shoved his foot between it and the frame, then pushed it open hard enough to startle me. Before I could react, he walked straight into my apartment, no hesitation, right to the kitchen table, where he slammed the bag down. I started yelling, demanding he leave. Instead, he sat down, stared at me, and said we needed to talk. That I owed him closure. I told him no, that he needed to leave now, or I'd call the cops. That's when he completely snapped. He started shouting, like screaming, saying I was killing him, over and over. "Do you want me dead? Is that what you want?" I had my phone in my hand and dialed 911 immediately. While I was talking to the dispatcher, he got up and walked toward my knife block on the counter. He grabbed the biggest one. I froze. I backed out of the apartment into the hallway, pepper spray in hand. My apartment door was still open, and I could see him pacing inside. I gave the dispatcher my address while trying to keep my distance and figure out whether to run. Then he stepped out into the hallway holding the knife. He saw me watching. Then, in one terrifying moment, he turned the knife on himself. He started stabbing himself in the stomach. Fast, shallow jabs. I think my brain short-circuited. The sound, this sick, wet smacking sound, and the grunts he made. It was horrible. I bolted. I ran down the stairs, not the elevator. I was still yelling into the phone, telling the dispatcher what he was doing. He's stabbing himself. He's really doing it. Oh my God. I ran out into the parking lot, stood by the curb and waited for the police. The whole time, I kept saying, "Please don't shoot him. Please don't shoot him. He's trying to hurt himself, not anyone else." When they arrived, I waved them down and used my key fob to let them into the building. They didn't say much to me, just went in, focused. I kept picturing him still holding that knife, refusing to drop it. I was sure they were going to shoot him. But they didn't. They found him collapsed outside my apartment, still bleeding, the knife nearby. The EMTs arrived not long after, but he'd lost a lot of blood. I didn't go back upstairs. I couldn't. He survived, barely. He needed multiple surgeries to repair damage to his stomach and intestines. I never visited. I couldn't bring myself to. I later heard he sobered up for a year, maybe a little more, but eventually slipped back into old habits. We haven't spoken since. Sometimes I wonder if it was a cry for help or a punishment he wanted me to witness. Either way, I'm just glad I trusted my instincts. I never let him back in fully, and that might have saved my life. If you've made it to the end of this video, let me know in the comments which story creeped you out the most, and if you could survive only one of them, which one would it be? Don't forget to drop your guess. Which story do you think was the fake one? Also, if you enjoyed the episode, hit super thanks if you're on YouTube, or send us some stars if you're on Facebook to show some love and make your comments stand out. Want to go next level? Get early access to upcoming episodes, exclusive members-only content, and much more by joining our YouTube membership or becoming a Patreon supporter. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's waiting there for you. Don't forget to like, share, and catch up on our previous episodes. And now, stay tuned for the next horror episode.